Good day, everyone. I am Robert Jacoby, Director of WordPress at Cloudways, and I am so excited for today's Black Friday, Cyber Monday Prepathon with Ricky. Ricky Kesler, founder of Creative Income School, is going to tell us all about how to become billionaires blogging. I know he knows that's an exaggeration. Welcome, Ricky. Glad to have you on board. I'm going
Glad
to
to be
let
here.
you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll run right into the show. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Robert. Yeah, I'm Ricky Kesler. I created Income School and Project 24, which is our it's essentially a project. It's really for our members who have a goal of replacing their full-time income from their job, whatever they do, typically in about 24 months, hence the name Project 24. And that's what we do is we use online business, particularly blogging, to create content and generate or build businesses around our content. And monetizing that content is a really important part of it. And so while most of us are probably not going to become billionaires from our blogs, while that's not an impossibility, we can absolutely do very, very, very well. And in fact, we've had many members who, including ourselves, who generate 7-figure annual incomes from blogs. And so it's a pretty fantastic business. So today I want to share a bit about maximizing your earnings in your blog or in a blogging business, or really any business that can utilize content to drive traffic to a website. Really, that's the main thing about marketing. The whole purpose in marketing, I went to business school, I got an MBA, and the whole purpose of marketing and everything we learn in marketing is about how to identify a segment of the overall marketplace that's a good fit for a product, and then how to target that segment in the most cost-effective way so that we can get information in front of them, get advertising in front of them, and get them to the product that should be a good fit for their needs. The cool thing with the internet today is not only do advertisers have an easier time segmenting that market and understanding and really reaching out and approaching those people who are the best fit, but we as content creators have a fantastic ability of using content to attract that audience, and then we don't even have to pay and get our information out in front of them. And so it's a huge opportunity. So today I'm going to talk about some ways that we can use our blog content to really optimize and maximize our earnings. So when it comes to maximizing our earnings, I think there's really two important steps. The first is diversifying our income streams. It's really easy as bloggers to find something that works, to makes us some money, but then diversifying that feels like it takes up so much more time. Every single income stream we add seems like it's just going to add to the workload. And for a lot of people, starting blogs to try to build a business off of, or to support an existing business, already have other things that take up their time. A lot of the people who join our program, a lot of people who watch us on YouTube, they have full-time jobs, they have families. And so spending more time to diversify their income streams feels impossible. The second thing that we need to do is to optimize our income and the income streams that we are using. So today I want to talk about ways to do both of those. And it really is important to focus and work on one thing at a time. And so I'm going to address that issue of time and time management. This is a quote here by Susan Cain. Susan Cain wrote a book that I like. She's written several, but one that I particularly like because it's about people like me. It's a book about introverts. And anyway, fantastic. But she says this, and I think this is absolutely true and pretty insightful. What looks like multitasking is really switching back and forth between multiple tasks, which reduces productivity and increases mistakes by up to 50%. A lot of times, when we're trying to build something up, it doesn't matter where you are in business. You could be a very experienced business person, or you could just be trying to start something up for the first time on your own. A lot of people make that mistake of trying to balance too many things. And we don't balance them. We don't actually do multiple things at a time. We have to switch between those. And switching between those always has a loss of efficiency. So, all right, let's dive into this then. So first of all, why are we diversifying income streams? If it's going to take more time by having more income streams, why would we even do it? Well, the first reason is we minimize the risks associated with income shifts. And so throughout any given year, there's going to be shifts in income. Advertising revenue has a tendency to increase in the fourth quarter of the year, decrease in the first quarter of the year, and then have other highs and lows throughout the year. And so if we're relying on advertising income because we let other people advertise on our blogs, that revenue is going to fluctuate. But add to that other fluctuations that happen. This year in particular, we saw a major decrease in advertising revenues just across the board. And that's because we're facing some economic headwinds. And so as companies are a little bit unsure about the economy in the coming days and the coming months, and they have a tendency to spend a little bit less money on marketing and try to keep a little bit more cash in reserve. They don't spend as much. And when that's happening, we bloggers are going to make less money from advertising on our content. So if that's what you're relying on this year, even if you're doing everything right, your revenue may have decreased. So by diversifying our income streams, we minimize those fluctuations. And really, even if some income streams like affiliate marketing is another one. A lot of people used to rely heavily on Amazon as a provider for affiliate marketing, where you can place links to Amazon products and you get a great commission. It used to be you could earn up to 8% for almost any product on Amazon as long as you were getting enough clicks. And nowadays, it's all based on commissions based on the product type and category. A lot of products don't get any commission, and those commission percentages have dropped substantially. And so that's completely outside of our control. And if you were completely reliant on Amazon as your income stream, your income was cut in half, maybe even in a quarter. The second reason is we can learn what works really, really well for our industry and for us, for you. So as you diversify income streams, you may find that there's a particular form of monetization that is really good for your niche, whatever industry you're in. And you may find that there's something that you're really good at. Maybe you really, really like coaching and consulting people. And so that being the case, you really want to use that as a great income stream. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we're going to go ahead and diversify that. So I want to talk about some income streams, depending on your experience, just as well as sort of what you've seen so far in the blogging space and just in the content space online. I just want to make sure that we're talking about the same things here when we're talking about monetization. There's a lot of different ways, really a lot more than what's on this page here, a lot of ways that we can make a great income from our blogs. There's a couple of basic ones that a lot of bloggers are doing because they're really easy. They're actually really quite passive. And that's the cool thing about these is as we diversify into these, there's really not that much work to be done. So the first one is programmatic advertising. This is actually taking things beyond AdSense. Google AdSense is great. It allowed content creators to be able to place ads from Google in their content for years. And some people are really, really good at it and they're able to make a great income from it. For most of us, if you just turn it on, put the Google ad script in there and let them place ads, you're going to end up with ad layouts you don't like, and you're not going to end up making very much money. But since then, in the last several years, some different companies have come online. AdThrive, Mediavine, and Ezoic are three that I've used quite a bit. And all three sort of have some of their pros and cons and are good companies to work with. But what they're doing is they're programmatically serving ads on your website, pulling from Google's inventory of ads, but also pulling from other advertisers who are willing to maybe pay more for ads to have them seen associated with certain content. And so they're programmatically serving up those ads and optimizing where those ads are placed on your website, giving you a little bit more control, but also allowing you to earn a better income. So that's what I mean when I say programmatic advertising. The cool thing is with those companies, you can kind of set it up, turn it on, and mostly leave it alone. The next one is affiliate marketing. This one is a little bit less of a set it and leave it, but you kind of can. Affiliate marketing works best when contextually throughout our content, we are linking out to products that are a good solution for the readers of that content. A lot of affiliate marketers have been focusing heavily on very product-focused content, writing product reviews and such, and that has worked. but we're finding that it's not as effective anymore, and that those search queries associated with products are highly competitive. And so because of that, we've come up with some strategies that work really well for us that allow us to monetize all sorts of other content, very informational content, with affiliate products, as well as ads and other monetization methods we're going to talk about here. So diversifying in between those two is something basically every blogger should do. But there are some next level monetization methods that can earn you a lot more than what you're earning from ads and from affiliate marketing. There's a whole category of monetization that we call information products or info products. So I want to talk about some of those. For most people that are going to do any sort of info product, I actually recommend that you start with some form of a consultation. Consultations, I think, have just tremendous value. And I'll talk a little bit more about consultations and a great way to do it that's not like a huge time suck, because we talked about time being an issue here, right? So I do want to talk a little bit more about that here in just a minute. Digital. Then after that, there's other types of info products that are awesome. Digital downloads is another broad category. This can include like an ebook, but it can also be any number of things. I've seen a lot of people who have DIY type blogs, and they sell you printed out like downloadable plans for a project, or even an ebook with multiple projects in it, where it gives you all of the instructions, the cut sizes, and everything for the DIY project. There are numerous ways to do digital downloads. If you're a developer, you can write a little program for people. If you create tools and spreadsheets, you can sell the tool as an inexpensive digital download. And then there's courses, membership sites, communities, and those sorts of things that all just have tremendous value. And then I listed here e-commerce. E-commerce, if you already have a business that does e-commerce, that's oftentimes the way that it goes. A lot of people start with e-commerce, and then they learn that content is a great way to get traffic, and it is. But a lot of bloggers don't break into the e-commerce space because they're so used to everything being digital and kind of the ease of digital that they don't want to get into products. But there are a lot of ways to do e-commerce that don't require inventory management and shipping and stuff. So I think a lot of bloggers would benefit from looking into those. A couple of options we do as content creators often recognize when people do merch, branded merch. You buy a coffee mug or a t-shirt or something, and it seems a little bit silly. Like, who wants to buy a t-shirt with my logo on it? And that's not entirely what we're talking about. But when you build connection with people, whether that's through video content or also through blog content, as we build connection with people, we can have sort of insider things, inside jokes and things. If you create an email newsletter and there's things that you talk about regularly and that your audience starts to really recognize as a part of your brand, then things like merchandise products, it falls under e-commerce, and a lot of those are available print on demand. There's also all sorts of drop shipping options and stuff too for different products, if that's something that fits your industry. So I want you to just open your mind to what's possible in your industry, in your niche, and consider how you could diversify. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to do this. Let's see, before I go too far down that path, I do want to share, let's get into one more thing, and then I'm going to share a little bit of story. So one thing that's really important as we do that we keep everything as simple as possible. So we talked about time being an issue, right? One of the ways that we help ensure that we're going to have time to do things is, I mentioned earlier, one at a time. If we're going to diversify into another income stream, let's focus on that one thing. But the mistake a lot of people make is they focus on one thing and they leave what they've done in the past to decline. And the way that we avoid that is by putting in place simple systems, simple processes that allow those things to stay up and running. Now, with programmatic ads, there's not as much of that needed. With programmatic ads, once they're kind of set up and on, you can leave it alone and it doesn't really decline. But there are always going to be opportunities to optimize further. And so we do want to have a bit of a system for that. But as you start doing affiliate marketing, my recommendation is to take whatever you're doing, no matter who you follow, whoever teaches you how to do it, or however you figure it out to do on your own, whatever strategy you follow, in as simple a way as possible, document your process. What does it look like to write a blog post and include affiliate links in that blog post? What does that process look like? How do you decide when to link to a product? And what is your approach to linking to a product? Do you always do it a certain way? By documenting it, you don't have to reinvent it again if you come back later to try to improve or just continue to do affiliate marketing on new content. It also allows you to scale. A lot of bloggers that I've been working with, they reach a point where they're doing fantastic. They're earning a great income from their blog, but now they want to scale. They want to maximize their earnings. And so what do? They go hire some writers. They go hire some people to go work for them, oftentimes starting with freelancers who just work on an article by article basis rather than hiring a big team of full-time employees. But the trouble that they run into, that we see a lot of people run into as we scale, is there are a lot of things outside of just writing articles that need to get done with our content in order to maximize the earnings. And in order to do those things well, we often end up needing to do them ourselves because we haven't documented a clear process for it. And so you end up running out of time, even though you're not writing the content yourself anymore. You don't have time to go through every piece of content and do all of that work yourself, because now you're also managing a team, you're scaling, so you're dealing with more content than you've ever dealt with before, and it becomes kind of an impossibility. Document the things that you do. Don't overthink it. Just what are the steps? How do you decide what to link to? How do you place a link? What does that look like? And recognize that in the future, we're going to come back and we're going to optimize and refine our processes to improve them and further maximize our earnings. So I want to tell you a little bit about the journey for Income School from a monetization standpoint. So, when we started, I started with a business partner and a friend who had a background in blogging. He had been doing this for years. His background in blogging came from experience, not from some university degree or something, because nobody knew really this stuff. Everybody was sort of figuring it out. But when we started Income School and we started on content, we started monetizing with affiliate marketing, just straight up. As you know, we'd make a recommendation for podcast gear, because that's one of the things that we would talk about and we would teach people how to do. So what would we do? We'd link to a particular microphone, a recorder, just those sorts of things. What were our recommendations? We would also link, and I think this is a place where a lot of people don't think about these things, but we would link to different software solutions that were good products for our users. You can link to if somebody already has a course or some other information product that teaches something in more depth, and you don't have that yourself, you can link to somebody else's course. So we would link to software products. We would, again, recommended gear, those kinds of things. And that's how we started making our first few dollars. And we focused on that for a bit. And then with time, we decided we wanted to do information products because we knew there was so much value there. We skipped the programmatic ads because back then there weren't good options. It was basically just Google AdSense. Now there are so many options that's actually the first thing that I add to a website, because you turn it on, you set it up, and you can just leave it and come back and optimize at a future time. But here's what we did next. We decided to create an information product around podcasting. And we started with what we were good at. I had not really been making video at the time. I had done very, very little video content, but I had been recording podcasts. And so we started by creating an audio guide, basically what we would have put in a course, but we just said it and didn't record the video, just the audio. And we put that together and sold it as a $10 product. Later, it became a $15 product. In addition to that, we had some written guides that we included with it. We also included a couple of videos showing how to set up your podcasting equipment and what we use for a basic setup as well as for a more advanced setup. Very simple bundle of small things that we put together and sold very inexpensively. And that was our first product. And it did okay, and it made us some money. Then we decided that we wanted to teach more blogging because that's what we were primarily doing. And so we started with consulting, which that's my recommendation. Start with a consult of some sort, because those consultations are going to do some tremendous things for you. We'll talk in a little bit about how you can do those consults in a way that's going to be really far more effective for how you spend your time. So we would charge about $75 for a consult. And the way we did the consult was as an asynchronous consult, which meant that somebody would send us in information and their questions, and then we would record an audio file that we would send back to them, and that had all of our recommendations. Essentially, it's like if you were here with us in person and you asked us those questions, this is what we would have said to you. But we just did it in a recording. And that worked pretty well. And we did a handful of those. And then we were like, you know what? We know enough now about what our customers' needs are. Let's go ahead and go create more like a course. Okay. And so then we created our first course. We called it Niche Site School. I think we charged $99 for it when we first started up. And it was a 60-day course. And in this course, you were going to learn day one, just how to pick the topic for your website. Day two, I mean, each day there was another step. And by the end of 60 days, you were going to have your website set up. You were going to have a bunch of blog posts written. You were going to have blog posts that were written on topics that people are actually searching for and that you could win even with a fairly new website. You would have articles that were optimized for on-page SEO, so they would actually rank. All of that would be done in 60 days if you just followed along with this timeline. And that was the basis for what we do today. And we sold that product for a while. Later, we improved upon it. And that product, I'll say, it came with that consult that we used to do for $75. It sort of came with a version of that included. And this, I think, was key. Because what we would do is we would have, our customers, they would tell us what their idea was. They would fill out a whole survey where they would say, here's our idea for a website. And here's some questions that we have, some concerns, whatever. And then we would record about a 15-minute, oftentimes I'm long-winded and I would go longer, and it would be more like a 30-minute consult. But we would record a consult, talking to them about their idea, giving them suggestions on how they could improve upon it. And when it was done, they would get that back. They would go start working on their website. They'd have 60 days. And then the other thing that was really valuable was they would get 60 days of email support. Now it was valuable for them because they could ask follow-up questions and we could help them through this process. But it was probably just as valuable or more valuable for us because we got to see every single place in our system where our customers would get stuck, where they would run into a roadblock. Whether it was, I don't understand what you said, what your recommendations were on my niche. Or they might say, I'm having trouble setting up my website. These instructions you gave were unclear right here. And over the course of several months, we started to see some recurring issues, some of those questions that would come in repeatedly. So what did we start doing? We started improving the content for that product. Over time, we raised the price to $149 and then later to $199. And eventually it was selling really, really well. And we decided it was time for the next thing. After a while, we got rid of the email support and instead we let them into a group, sort of a group chat, a Slack group, where they could ask their questions there and they could get support, not just from us, but from each other, which actually took a little bit of the load off of us. But they didn't need as much direct support anymore either because we were improving upon the content, the information that we were teaching them in the course. And because of that, we were able to improve and you'll notice that we went from product to product to product. It wasn't just ads and affiliate, info product, and this is the info product. We started with one, then we went on to consults, and then we went on to this course. And then a few years ago, we knew that we had the potential for something a lot bigger, a lot better. And we turned it into Project 24. Project 24 then became a membership, not just a one-time purchase, where you gain a year of access to all of the information that's regularly updated and kept up to date and added to a whole library of content that we add to, with a community that we personally participate in, our other team members participate in and answer questions, but also other members who have been in there for, in many cases, 3 years. They're also participating and helping answer questions and all supporting one another. And that's grown beyond anything we could have done before, but we had to build upon those stepping stones. So the point here is, for each step along the way, we learned something, and then we could build upon it, and we put a process in place and build upon it. We would use a certain piece of software. We tried a certain software for our community. It was fine, but we learned what didn't work and what did work. And we found another tool later that worked better. And once we figured that out, we just moved the community over. We got everybody to start using the new one, and voila, now we have a much better product. And now we're in a position where we can do so many other things. We can, we have done coaching, a more premier coaching. So rather than charging $75 for a consult, you get a live session, and it's like $1,000 for an hour. We don't even do that anymore because we don't have the bandwidth to do enough of those to meet the demand. I hope that sort of, I know I just went over that really quickly, but I hope that sticks with you. At $1,000 an hour, it is no longer worth our time because we couldn't meet the demand. That's what happens when you build upon what you learn and create a product that becomes increasingly more valuable and more beneficial to your users. All right, so back to the presentation. One of the things that I mentioned before that was so valuable was those consults and the feedback. So I want to talk a little bit about how we go about doing those kinds of consults. They're consults that we call asynchronous consults. Asynchronous consults are essentially when you get the user's input, their part of the consultation, separately from when you give them the response. And the easiest way we found to do that was to give them some sort of a survey, some sort of guidance around how to ask their questions, to make sure that they covered everything, and that they asked the questions that would make the best use of their time. Then we would either record a response. Oftentimes that's what we would do, is just record a response. Over time, we got used to video. I started doing a lot more video. I got a lot more comfortable with video. And so, and a video consult was great because it would give me the opportunity to talk to them face to face, even though it's not live, but also I could record my screen. I could show them, specific things with a camera if there was something I needed to show them that wasn't on a computer screen. But I could show them a lot more rather than just trying to explain things to them. And those asynchronous consults are fantastic. And that what they do is they allow you to maximize your time. If you get 3 consults scheduled with you in a week, that's fine. You can plan to do the work and record all 3 of those in the same day, rather than switching back and forth between tasks, taking a consult based upon the availability of the client. It also gives you so much insight into what the customer needs are. We found so many sticking points with setting up WordPress websites. And then we made a new tutorial for our membership that walked people through it just more clearly, step by step, how to set up their website. Today, we have a very clear tutorial built into our membership, into the lesson plans, walking through exactly how to go on to Cloudways, how to set up their first server, how to sign up, how to set up their first server, and to get a WordPress website up and running, and then how to log into that website and start creating content and designing it. And because of that, we almost completely eliminated the questions we got about WordPress setup, because we were able to get that feedback, and those consults really helped with that. And then with a consult, if you're going to do just a consult, then if you're going to do just a consult, sorry, I just got hung up for a second there. I would definitely allow for some sort of follow-up. follow-up, I think, is key. And so here I say get feedback, right, on the slide. You need that feedback. One, it does two things really for you. The first thing it does is uh, it allows the customer to be able to ask follow-up questions that they didn't have before they got your answers. But the second thing it allows is it allows you to find out what questions you didn't answer very well. And again, that's key. If we can understand what questions we thought we answered, but that the customer still doesn't understand, then we can improve our teaching. And so no matter what sort of information product you're going to create, whether it's a consult or anything else, providing some way for users to give feedback or to ask questions is going to be a great way for you to improve upon what you're doing. So we talked a lot about diversifying. Let's talk a little bit about what's next. And this is optimizing. Now, I have this plan, do, check, act, continuous improvement cycle here, because diversifying and optimization is not a linear path. We don't just say, okay, we'll diversify into all the income streams and then go optimize them. What I want you to do is start by diversifying, but then as you get opportunities to optimize, do those things. So as you get an opportunity, you see there's a place where you could optimize the ads on your website. Cool. Go ahead and do that. And then we can move on and focus on another income stream. I've talked a lot about information products that we created one after another that built upon each other. Well, that was sort of diversification. I mean, the podcast product was not the same as the blog one. So it was a diversification of income streams, but it was also optimization. So it is a bit of a cycle. Now, as we want to optimize and improve upon any of these monetization methods, we want to do it in ways that are going to minimize our risk. One of the biggest mistakes a lot of people make is as they either diversify or try to optimize, they make the mistake of trying to do too much, and they invest a lot of time and a lot of expense into creating something only to find out it was the wrong thing. That's why I start with consults and I get feedback, right? We can build upon what we learn, and then we can figure out exactly what the customer needs. And once we dial in the product from an information standpoint, from a helpfulness standpoint, then we're in a much better position to dial it in from a tools standpoint. So right now I'm in a great position to take what I've done with Project 24 and now make it better from a usability standpoint from the tools that we use. And there's some trade-off. If you can get the tools right in the first place, you never have to change them later. But you can spend a lot of money paying for and trying to use really, really expensive software products to make your product amazing and end up with totally the wrong product. And so that's my recommendation. The next thing is I would focus on customer value over return on investment. That sounds a little bit crazy because ROI is why we're doing this. If we're going to invest time into creating something to sell, then it needs to have a return on investment. The reason I talk about customer value first is because customer value is how you get a return on investment. A lot of people think about first, how can I make the most money out of this? What sort of product can I deliver that costs me the least amount of as possible to manage, to maintain, and that makes me the most possible, right? We want that ratio to be as high as possible of revenue to cost, or return to investment. What I find is if I can start with what does the customer need? What are the problems they have that I can solve? If I can start there and then I can figure out an inexpensive way to solve them or a way to solve them that I can scale, meaning I can solve the problem once and then I can sell that to everybody because I have solved that one problem for everybody, then the return on investment is there. But we need to start by thinking about the customer and what they need. If we focus on ROI first, we end up often creating products that don't provide the value, and therefore nobody wants them. And it doesn't matter what the ratio of return to investment is. If you sell zero, you make $0. So the ROI doesn't come. The next thing is to own your customer list. One of the things that as content creators, one of our biggest risks is the platforms that we have to depend upon. So as bloggers, we are dependent in large part on Google. So when Google updates their algorithm, oftentimes we'll see swings in traffic, and sometimes they balance back out and we come back to where we were. But you could lose a lot of traffic for a month or forever because of some sort of update made to the Google algorithm. Likewise, if you're making video content and you have a YouTube channel, great, you have all these subscribers, but that's not your customer list. What happens if something changes with YouTube's algorithm? What happens if YouTube doesn't like something that you create, some piece of content? And now all of a sudden you're demonetized, or some of your videos start to be removed from the platform. That becomes a big problem. As often as possible, we want to create a way that we can take the customers that we have and own that list of customers. And so email newsletters, email signups can be a great way to do this. The problem is the time issue, right? We talked about time before. There's only so much time. And if you're going to have a good email list, you need to keep that list active and warm, which means you have to create email content too. Blogging content and email content, it's so much. And so what do we need? We need simple systems in place. That's what it takes. Other ways that we can own our customer list is to create some form of subscription or some form of membership or community where people join us and become a part of our community off of platforms we can't own. And so Project 24 is something we built out as a membership. Everybody who signs up, I have their direct contact. They participate in a community that is just them, but it's a community that I can talk to directly without having to get my content through Google or through YouTube or through any other platform that I don't have control over. If something were to happen and the platform that I use to host my community were to go down, I still have the list of customers, and I could still send them an email if I had to, just through my Gmail account. And I could say, hey, something happened, this changed, here's the new platform, here's how to access it. Own your customer list. That's going to be one of the best ways to minimize the risks in your business. That's really what we're going to do to try to maximize our income for the next, for 2023 and beyond. We need to diversify the income streams that we use. We need to get our income coming from more than one place. A lot of us as bloggers are getting into this to diversify our income from just our job to our job plus a side gig, right? Well, in the side gig, let's work on also diversifying those income streams. It serves those benefits of, one, minimizing risk, but two, dramatically increasing the income potential of the content that you're creating. Instead of just ads, if we add affiliate, that could double your income. You add an info product, and many times that's 10 times the income you were earning from ads alone. So diversifying is huge. And then learning how to get feedback and optimize is going to be a fantastic way to make sure that you make the most money you can and that you deserve to from the content that you've been creating for people. And that's it. That's what I've got for you today.
It's not just that's it. That is some Ricky. Boy, I started a blog 2 years ago. I could have used all of that information way ahead of time. That's some brilliant, just practical advice that anyone who's trying to do this, should obviously invest in more about.
Yeah.
I got a slew of questions though.
All right.
From what's coming in over the wire, we're doing it crazy. There may have been a couple of glitches. Don't worry. But going all the way back to the beginning, you talked about sort of the how to deal with income shifts. And you mentioned like the fall, Q3, Q4 are more advertising focused, planning for the next year. Any other key dates, or is it industry dependent?
Yeah, that's going to be a bit industry dependent. Although the interesting thing with advertising is, I could have a blog in one industry, but I could be getting ads served to me from other industries where my viewership has overlap, if that makes sense. Like the people who read my blog, they also buy soap. even if my blog's not about soap. And
Everyone
so
needs
like,
soap, right?
yeah, exactly. And so we found we had a website that we sold a couple years ago about campers and RVs, and it did really well with ads because, and it kind of makes sense. The people who are shopping for RVs and campers and who are trying to learn about them usually have free time and disposable income. And so we got all sorts of ads that were for, people in, middle-aged years, people that have money that, so all sorts of things. I mean, home products, but also, like I mentioned, soap, but all sorts of hobby type products, camping stuff and too, but really everything. And so it's maybe not quite as industry specific as it feels like it could be. That said, if your blog has seasonality, your income is going to move with that seasonality. And so that's where it's more industry specific. The camper blog did really well in, spring, summer, early fall months, and it would have a bit of a decline in the winter months every year. And so we started working on content that would be more likely to be searched in the winter, and that helped. The other thing, though, you mentioned, so key dates. Oftentimes summers are pretty good. This year was weird just because summer sort of coincided with sort of the stock market and the economy having a lot of volatility, world events driving a lot of that, gas prices, etc. And so this year was kind of an anomaly, but usually summertime's pretty good. People are pretty active, spending money. The early months of the year, January, February in particular, people don't spend a lot on ads. I think a lot of that's, unless you're like in the self-help space or dieting or something, then January is probably a pretty good time. But other than that, for the most part, those
Everyone
months are pretty low.
spent all their holiday money in December and is now recovering. Is that,
Exactly.
the traditional way
Yes.
of thinking about it?
So I would say those are pretty key. And then sometimes around major holidays or events, there's some short spurts,
Like
but that's
maybe
about it.
Black Friday, Cyber Monday, just
That's a big one. And that's not as short of a spurt. That's like that's like fall. That's a big
well.
part of the late Q3, early Q4 spending is.
So I'm going to reverse a question because I was going to save it for the end, but since we already brought it up, what can folks do in the next 3 to 4 weeks to optimize, get ready, take advantage of, the kickoff to the super shopping season?
Yeah. Some really good things so for affiliate marketing, um, if you have any content that points to anything that tends to be sort of a holiday shopping season sort of stuff, gifts, any of the Black Friday things, electronics, all that kind of stuff. First thing is go find out what the deals are going to be. If you're an affiliate for people other than Amazon, a lot of times they will let you know well ahead of time of different opportunities that are coming up. And so if you can get that knowledge ahead of time to market it, obviously follow their rules and stuff, but then go into your content and make those tweaks. It's going to be worth the time to let people know, oh, and by the way, this product's on sale right now or this product's going to be on sale during this time. That's going to help. If you have an email newsletter and there's anything at all high ticket that you're an affiliate for, that can be a great opportunity to plan a short email series around Black Friday to alert people of this promotion that's not even for your own product, it's for somebody else, but
Yep.
you're an affiliate for it. It's huge. You might normally like to keep ads minimal on your website, but for this time, you might just add a couple more ad placements to your average blog post template. So you show just a couple extra ads because they're worth more at this time of year, and then just plan to remove them later if once they're not worth quite as much. And then the other thing is, if you do have any sort of your own product, info products, e-commerce, think about what you could do, what sort of promotion you could run. We have found that it often doesn't even take that much of a discount. It's more of just like, there's a feeling around it. People get excited when there's a sale, but also it's just an opportunity to highlight that thing that you have for them and plan a promotion around that. You can, make a cool graphic for your homepage and for your sidebar so it shows up everywhere on your website that you're having this sale. But also, if you own your customer list, plan a sequence of emails, a few emails that prep people for it, and then make that push for that. You can make a lot of money in a very short window of time during Black Friday, Cyber Monday time period.
So I'm going to get to one more quick question before I get to the beautiful thing you said about owning your customer list. Oh my goodness. Not to give away the, income school store, for lack of a better phrase, but what does optimizing your content, your ad space mean?
Yeah. So just to make sure I understand it. So like optimizing your content for ads.
Well, you've mentioned it kind of both ways. So optimizing your content, optimizing your ads,
Gotcha.
Again, not to give away the income school store, but I mean,
yep.
In a broad sense, what should I be thinking about when folks say, optimize X?
Right. Yeah. So optimize, it's really about making sure that whatever it is that we're optimizing, that it serves the main purpose that it's intended for. And so with content, like our content that we write on our website really serves sort of two purposes for us, one purpose for the user. And that is like to solve the user's problem, whatever question they came to the internet for, like solve that, make sure that you solve it. Don't just like give some content that could rank for that search. Actually solve the problem. You end up with the most helpful content. It tends to rank really well. And so that's optimizing there. But then, from our side, the other thing that content is intended to do is to get us that traffic. And so in addition to making sure we solve the user's problem, we also want to make sure that our content is presented in a way that it should do well in search. And so for us, that usually means, very clear. You should have your title needs to just very clearly, it needs to state what your article is intended to do. What's the topic? We also usually like to have it be exciting because people have to click on it. But then quickly we get to the answer. A lot of people want to bury the lead, right? We don't. We answer the primary question as quickly and concisely as we can very early in the article. Because typically, if I'm going to write an article about it, more to the answer than what you can give in 3 sentences. The answer is always some form of "it depends." And so what do? We give them the average answer. Typically this is the answer, but it depends. And so then in the article, we can talk about all the ways it depends, all the nuances of it, and how they can figure out the answer for them. And that tends to do really well in Google search, but it also serves the purpose of the user. So that's how we optimize content. With ads, the way that these companies we're working with that do programmatic advertising, they're optimizing by essentially like for every placement on your website, the different advertisers are presenting like, hey, we want an ad there. And this is all happening like in milliseconds on the back end. And basically what the company is doing is they're saying, well, who's willing to pay the most for this ad placement in this article, for this user as well, right? And so that's how they're optimizing. But then we're optimizing by making sure that we have the right ad placements, that we have good ad placements. The ad placements that make the most money are like right at the top of the article, but I don't like them because they push my content down below the fold. So when somebody comes to the article, they see a big ad and no content until they scroll. I hate that. And so I put user first. I make a few cents less by making sure I don't have an ad there, because I feel like it's actually more optimized, because I'm more likely to get an affiliate click and probably even more overall ad views if they don't have a big ad blocking the way. And so we need to think like our user and try to understand like what is their goal, and then how do we help them reach their goal as simply for them as possible, while also serving the goals that we have, obviously, to make a great income.
Do you have a rule of thumb for hits to clicks to dollars per month. Like 1 million hits to the page gets me 100,000 clicks, gets me $10,000.
Um, Not really, and that's mostly because I've seen like such a wide range. And so, I mean, this is part of why we're talking about diversifying as well, is because, um, there's a lot of people who approach me and are like, "Hey, we'd love to sponsor a video on your channel and we'll pay you a couple $1,000s." And it's like, well, that video actually makes me a lot more than $2,000 because it sells my own course. It's not about the YouTube revenue. That's like this, my course is worth my membership is worth way more. And so really, I'm not really willing to sell that ad space in my YouTube video to make a piece of content for you, because that content's worth way more for me. And so, in terms of like clicks, views and clicks and stuff to dollars, like it's very different on Income School than it is on many of our blogs on other topics. And it's because it's a product that, or that membership is very well built out.
Well,
And
you're eating your own dog food, I guess, as the phrase goes. But you have that e-commerce platform built into your blog, built into the other, diversified streams. Obviously, that's been extremely successful for you.
Yeah.
Now to my favorite topic, because I really believe in this. I love owning your users. That, all the platforms, as much as we like to, redeploy content onto LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok,
Totally.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, social media account, owning it's kind of the fruits of your labor, because you've gone out there, you've collected, subscriptions and, newsletter requests and, so on and so forth. Can you expand on the idea of then farming versus hunting with that kind of content? With that
Yes.
kind of asset?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's amazing. So like, you know, with the content that we write, with social media content that we post, it is more like hunting, but like with bait or something, right? It's like we can pull them in, but like we still have to kind of we don't get repeated attempts. We don't get to work on them, right? People come and they consume a piece of content, and then many times they're gone. With social media, some of them will be converted into a subscriber, a follower, whatever. But there's, even with them, there's a limitation on, like, if I put out a piece of content, only some of those followers are actually going to consume that piece of content. And so I don't get to work on them the same way. I don't have as much of a direct line. And then it's like building a farm. Like, building a YouTube channel is great because it has a lot of the same effects of having an email list, but it's like I'm building a farm on rented ground that could get taken away from me. And so if we can then take that list, those subscribers, those viewers, and we can give them a reason to want to be a part of our email list, our community that we've created, whatever that is, where we actually have access to their contact. We could reach out to them, even if, like, you create an online community on a platform you don't own, but there's a difference, right? There's platforms that will host a community for you, but it's your community. You own your list. You can download your list. You have access to it. On YouTube, I don't know who all my subscribers are. I can't see them all, right? I can't see most of them. And so that's where it's different. And so even if I'm using one of those platforms and that platform shuts down, I still have my list. I still have those people, and I can keep working with them. I can continue to plant those seeds. And it is like farming, right? And not all of them are going to grow. There's a lot of people that will subscribe and be a part of your email list and never purchase anything, but I get to work with them. I get to try. And I think that's where the huge difference is with every social media platform. There's a trend that we see. This happened really bad with Facebook and then with Pinterest. And I think Facebook's improved a little bit, but originally it was like okay, I got people to like my page on Facebook. Awesome. If I publish an article, I'll post about it on Facebook, and everybody will see it. And then Facebook's like, well, actually, no. If you want your followers to see this, you need to pay to boost the post. And you're like, well, no, I brought these followers here. Like, you owe me, Facebook. I'm keeping them on Facebook for you. They're like, we don't care. We want them to stay on Facebook, and you're trying to get them to go to your blog. Pinterest got really bad. It's like, it used to be bloggers use Pinterest like crazy, and they'd get so much traffic from it. And now you have to like be a Pinterest wizard to make that work, or really lucky. Like, you have to work really hard at it. And it's because they followed the same pattern that we see with most platforms. And that is, they eventually are going to do everything they can to keep users on the platform. And so they're going to try to not promote so much the content that sends people away from the platform. And if we want to make money off of them, a lot of times we need them to go to our website. So there's just so many great reasons to own your list.
I hope that if there's one thing everyone takes away from this conversation is own your content, soup to nuts. Repurpose it elsewhere, however you like. But at the end of the day, that time you're spending on building a community, a blog, a resource, you should be able to keep the assets. And obviously that's the folks who are subscribers, who are interested, who are viewers, email readers, newsletter readers, etc. We are really up to the top of the hour. Ricky Kesler, this was brilliant. I could have gone on for like a bunch more hours because I got ideas about everything. I don't know if people want to hear my ideas, but I know they definitely want to hear yours. What's the best way people can follow up with you and all the good stuff you do?
Yeah, I mean, you can always find me there. Incomeschool.com is the website. And then really the place where, every week we're posting on YouTube. And it's just the Income School YouTube channel, or with YouTube's new handles, it's at Income School, one word. You can find us there all the time. I'm replying to comments. That's really the best way to find what we're talking about every single week.
I'm just going to make sure I drop these in. So we got incomeschool.com, at Income School. I hope I spelled all that
That's
correctly.
all right.
We're doing it live. We're going crazy. Thank you so much for being part of our second annual BFCM Prepathon. I hope folks who have been watching are getting geared up. We're just a month away, and it's going to be crazy. We have a lot more going on. I'm going to say a quick bye to Ricky there, and thank you again so much.
You bet. Glad to be here.
Woo! And you get to see me all loaded up here. If you have been following some of the banners, we have all of these. We have our big discounts that we'll announce in November, right during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. You can watch our recordings on YouTube, of course. We'll have all these going on past our Black Friday, Cyber Monday, BFCM Prepathon week this week. And, of course, follow us on Twitter at Cloudways. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great rest of the week.